Chiefs injuries are starting to stack up after this past Sunday's game where it felt like every play a player was going down. You're watching the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Jay Sanderson. With today being Wednesday, we get our first practice of Week 14, and along with it, our first injury report of Week 15. And, well, I'll tell you right now, there was some surprise names or maybe a surprise name on it that, well, I didn't expect to see that wasn't even practicing. We're going to tell you who that is and all the injury updates right here coming up. But before that, this is why you got to turn on the notifications, guys. If you want to be in the know about the Chiefs injury news and who's playing, who's injured, who's not going to play, well, turn on those notifications, and we're going to be able to tell you exactly all the injury updates as soon as they happen. So hit that bell. You're going to be in the know about all the Chiefs news all year long. Let's go into it here with the names that did not practice today. And you're going to see that first one. Kind of a surprise. Isiah Pacheco, a shoulder contusion, and he is not practicing. The other three were kind of somewhat of expected to not practice. Bryan Cook with that ankle sprain. He is still being evaluated. Apparently it's not a break, but they did not release the MRI results. Don't know if they have those just yet. The left tackle, Donovan Smith, has a quote-unquote stinger. Again, he had this last week after the Raiders game, and Andy Reid doesn't really exactly provide too much evidence, logic, whatever you want to call it, to what exactly a stinger means and where it is on the body. He just labeled it as he's got a stinger and he ain't practicing. So there you go. The Chiefs linebacker also Drue, who suffered a concussion in the game against the Packers. He is also in concussion protocol and will not be practicing today. And, concussion protocol can sometimes take up to a whole week. We'll have to see exactly what's happening. But I think this is all bad news right here, especially with Isiah Pacheco being at the top, because I didn't expect him. I mean, he left this past Sunday's game, but it wasn't due to injury. It was because he threw a punch. I didn't think he was going to be an injury scratch here for practice. That just kind of made no sense to me. Now, there is one thing that we do have to look at as we have some good news because, well, those four guys did not practice. But there is two guys who have missed a substantial amount of time that could be back this Sunday who are practicing today. Those two are Nick Bolton along with Jerick McKinnon. Both of those guys are practicing. Nick Bolton been on IR, hasn't seen the field since Week 7. I mean, think about it, guys. We're in Week 14. It's been a long time for Nick Bolton. Now, Jerick McKinnon, he's had a groin injury the past 2 weeks, missed the Raiders game, obviously, this past Sunday against the Packers. And now they're both at practice, and quote-unquote, they are close to returning. They'll both practice today. McKinnon and Bolton will be huge because of those injuries that we kind of just saw. Isiah Pacheco, obviously banged up, not practicing today. Even if he is able to go Sunday, I would like to have McKinnon back in the rotation just because, obviously, you don't want to have to put everything back on Pacheco if he has any sort of injury issues. I just don't want to risk that at all. And then Nick Bolton, Drue Tranquill with that concussion. He's questionable to play this Sunday. I want Bolton back for a lot of reasons. And from what I'm hearing in the locker room, from the players, from the coaches, it sounds like this is the week Nick Bolton will return. They were very close to playing him this past week, but I think because it was so cold, because it was in Green Bay and so cold, I think there was really just too much of a risk to reward in that situation. Maybe hindsight's 2020. You think about playing him. Obviously, you don't think you're going to lose Tranquill, but at that point, you can't just put him in at that. So now this week with Drue Tranquill and that concussion, I think it's a little bit more of, okay, you were almost going to play last week. We're going to make sure to get you in this week. We've heard a lot of talk, a lot of buzz. I'm pretty sure he'll be playing this upcoming Sunday. Let's kind of dive into these injuries on the guys who did not practice them, and let's talk about them one by one. Let's start with Isiah Pacheco and that shoulder contusion. So, again, this wasn't exactly the name we were expecting to see on the injury report here today. There is one good thing to note about this, though, because Charles Goldman actually followed up with a tweet about him being out of practice by saying that the Chiefs are hopeful that Pacheco will practice later this week in at least a limited capacity. I don't like that it's at least limited capacity because that seems like there is a little bit of concern of if he'll be able to put on pads, do a full practice before Sunday. That's not exactly the best thing, but the fact they're hopeful that we'll see him in uniform, at least out on the field, doing some work, that's a good sign. And honestly, he's been one of the better players this year for the Chiefs that, quite honest, has really gone under the radar in some senses of the word. He's had 176 carries, closing in on 800 yards, 6 touchdowns, and over 4 yards per carry. When you're going over 4.2, you're doing something right. He's got 0.2 over that. It was really good to see Pacheco the past couple weeks. Got 2 touchdowns against the Raiders. This one last week against the Packers. you can't lose Pop right now. I'm just going to be quite honest with you. You can't lose him. I mean, you're going down a stretch of this is probably one of the most important games coming up on Sunday against the Buffalo Bills, where if you win, you can put yourself back in a position to obtain that number 1 spot in the AFC. But if you lose, well, I don't want to say it, but I think the number 1 spot is clearly out of the picture. And at that point, you almost have to start worrying about the potential of, playoffs, and is this team playoff ready? Just kind of a bunch of things. I mean, you may not even get a home playoff game if you lose this Sunday, depending on how everything rolls out. And Steelers, they're not that far behind you when they play the Patriots on Thursday. That probably seems like a win. Pop has been so underrated this year, and I think that it's time to give him some recognition. So if you think Isiah Pacheco has been underrated this year, then I want you to do me a favor. Type his nickname in the comment section of today's video. Type Pop. Man, he gives some pop to some other players, and we really love watching him play. So if you think he's underrated, you think he deserves a little bit more recognition for being a top player on this team, and honestly a top running back in the league, then type Pop in the comments section. We really, really appreciate it. Bryan Cook. Well, this is kind of surprising. We're even talking about him being potentially available at all this Sunday. After that injury to his ankle, it looked like he was done for the year. I'm going to be quite honest with you. I did not think that he was going to come back at all. It looked like his foot was just turned the opposite way when he went down. Once he got back up looked a little better, but I put the brace on and everything. He did walk out with crutches and no boot. Now, I do want to go back to this thing that he did actually come back with a positive X-ray read this past Monday, saying that it is not broken. So that was the cool thing. Now, they did say that he's going to undergo some more evaluation, which I can only assume would be an MRI to look at, muscle strains, all that type of stuff. But as of right now, they just label it as a high ankle sprain. We don't really know the full extent besides that, if there's some internal damage or if it's just the high ankle sprain, if that is exactly it. We're going to have to wait and kind of find out. I hope we'll have some more information on it tomorrow. But I will say, if I had to guess, I just don't think he will play. Like, that was a nasty, nasty injury. Given they also signed a safety to the practice squad this past day, Tyree Gillespie, if you missed that, posted a little short about him, kind of talking about what he's done in the NFL. He got signed to the practice squad, and, he could potentially jump up and maybe play if Cook is out. And that could certainly change a lot of things, including my prize picks, because I'm going to tell you, I'm loving playing prize picks as of late. They've been super, super fun to play. And honestly, it's really freaking easy, to be quite honest with you. It's really easy. It's exciting. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, all you do, you pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. Now, I've shown you this week my prize picks for the upcoming Sunday game, but here's mine for tomorrow's Thursday night game. I'm only doing 2 just because I don't know what to expect for tomorrow, and it's kind of an odd game with the Steelers and the Patriots, but I like these 2. The Patriots defense has been pretty good, and Mitchell Trubisky seems to have an interesting relationship with his receivers. Along with this, Trubisky is not the greatest of a quarterback. There's a reason he's a backup to Kenny Pickett. I'm going the less. The Patriots defense that has been riddled with injuries, but is still very, very good. I don't think he's going to get more than 181.5 passing yards. I go the less. And then Ezekiel Elliott, he's actually going to be the lead back for the Patriots tomorrow. Ramondre Stevenson is out. And honestly, I don't trust Zappe. I don't trust Mac Jones. If they want to throw Malik Cunningham in there, cool, that's fine with me. But I still think Ezekiel's going to probably have the rock a bunch of times. I think he's going to get more than 61.5 rushing yards. Now, he may rush the ball 30 times, but I have to say he'll probably get more than that. There's my entries, and I'll tell you what, if you want to go put some in yourself, you can check it out at prizepicks.com/CLNS, and then use our code CLNS for a first deposit match of $100. Man, I'm telling you, testing my prize picks on this season has been the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And if you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types where it makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Once again, prizepicks.com/CLNS, using code CLNS for that first deposit match of up to $100. Shout out to Prize Picks. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, the third injury. Donovan Smith left the game with a stinger in the first quarter, came back in the second quarter, but then was removed for Wanya Morris in the second half, did not see the field. Wanya was the one who filled in for him, and we got this tweet from Charles Goldman today saying that there's a good chance that rookie offensive tackle Wanya Morris will earn his first career start against the Bills in Week 14. Now, let's kind of look at Wanya just a little bit. I think the first thing we have to look at is his mental state, and is he ready to go for this Sunday's game if he is called upon. They interviewed him today in the locker room after practice, and he said this on potentially starting. I'm trying to keep the same routine, prepare the same way, and make sure I'm hyping in on the details. Now, that's pretty good. He knows what he's going up against, and honestly, Wanya looked pretty good this past Sunday. I'm not going to say he was, amazing level, but he's a rookie. You can't really expect too much out of him, and he played pretty well. There was no sacks allowed. He didn't really have too much to do with the run blocking game, and the rookie offensive tackle out of Oklahoma, 4 games played this season, no sacks allowed. Obviously hasn't been playing too much. Now will earn his first start. This is exactly what you draft for. You get a guy of a big college out of Oklahoma, but I'm going to say it as my Oklahoma State Cowboys. Oklahoma is not the king of the Oklahoma State. I'll tell you what. I know that Wanya Morris is a rookie out of Oklahoma. I know there's a lot of talk with the college football playoff going on right now. So do me a favor, shout out your college team in the comments. Is it one that is in the playoff? Is it one that got screwed from the playoff? I'm talking to you, FSU. Or is it somebody that's doing a nice job playing in a nice New Year's Six bowl game or a bowl game somewhere else? Why don't you do me a favor, shout out your college team in the comments. If you got to, well, then let me know that as well. Let's go into this 4th injury. That's Drue Tranquill, and he has a head injury, concussion protocol. He has Drue Tranquill. So that's kind of the big thing with concussion protocol is you don't really know how bad it could be. There's guys like Traylon Burks this year for the Titans who went into concussion protocol, and it took them 3 weeks to get out of it. There's guys that have been in it for 2 days and popped right out of it. It's kind of this weird thing of like, you don't know how long he could be in it. It's just every day, let's test him, let's see how he's doing. Now, he did look pretty shaken, though, this past Sunday. You can see kind of the look on his face here after getting up. He just looked like he didn't really know where he was. Now, it wasn't like as bad as some other concussion injuries we have seen, which don't really want to get into just because, well, that's a touchy topic for some people. But overall, it didn't look the greatest. And if Nick Bolton is available to go this next Sunday, I don't see Drue Tranquill taking the field just for safety precautions. You like him. You want to have him on the field for the rest of the season. I would hate to put him back out there just for him to get another concussion or re-injure. Like, there's just a lot of ifs, ands, or buts there. If you have Bolton, you have your starting linebackers back. Because on the left side, you're going to have Willie Gay. In the middle linebacker spot, you're going to have, right side, you'll have Willie Gay. In the middle linebacker spot, you'll have Nick Bolton, and then you'll have Leo Chenal on the left. It's going to be an easy time to have your starting linebackers. I think, if possible, just let him take out this week. I think it's a good night. Week 14, it's coming on Sunday. Chiefs, Bills. Man, it's a big game. It's a big game, and honestly, these players can feel it. The injuries are certainly here, but it is one thing to say it. Everybody else that is not injured, is not talking about injuries, not talking about starting for the first time, knows how important games are getting. Mahomes talked about it, and Chris Jones talked about it. He said this in a press conference today as he came to the podium, said, any AFC game we play is intensified because of the magnitude of the game. Strong words there. Strong words from Mr. Chris Jones. Listen, he knows the importance. He knows that everything is going to be a big game this Sunday. And honestly, I'd like to have everybody healthy, that make it a fair bout, and hopefully you can go in there and catch a dub in Arrowhead. I'll tell you what, hit that like button for everybody to be healthy on Sunday. I certainly want them. I'm going to go down, hit that like button as well. So go hit it. We'd appreciate it. And hopefully we'll add some health, get some love into this Chiefs squad. We appreciate all of you watching. Chiefs Kingdom, peace out.